Hello and good morning. Welcome to the channel. Sammy the brown snake here today. And I have a little chuckle at that because in my little quirky way, I try to bring a new, when I think of it, native Australian animal to the channel when I want to have a toolbox chat. And that's just because we've got viewers and people on the channel that are from all over the world. So that's just my Aussie touch to this channel. Now, everyone who's here and that is following along on the PPPD channel, I know for a lot of you, you've got the condition of PPPD, persistent postural perceptual dizziness. And when we think about that, a lot of us have been diagnosed with this condition, and we're all very aware that it is a secondary clinical diagnosis. So as I've said before in previous chats, that it is second to a first underlying condition, and in my case, vestibular migraine. But for other people, you know, Meniere's or you know, I'm not very good at recalling, you know, other ones, but there are others. So, you know, I've woken today and I feel way better. And there's going to be a shout out to all of the people, especially my beautiful Sydney sider friend and my beautiful northern New South Wales girlfriend, who have reached out to me and sent messages, and you know, I just want you to know that it means the world to me. You know, your love and just knowing that you're there means so much. And where I'm going with that is that, you know, looks can be deceiving. You know, we all can look at things, or we can judge others, and we can think, oh, wow, you know, this person's got this, or that person's got that, or whatever. But, you know, for my life, and this is, you know, off the cuff, but yes, I live on a little farm, you know, I'm a Mal in the Mallee, but I take every step that I take it alone. Yes, I'm married with, you know, children, but, you know, inside of my marriage, you know, of 26 years, I've walked it alone. So it sounds really sad and it sounds really hard, but that's what being a farmer's wife is like. You have to have a double backbone. You have to be the backbone of the family. You are the front person that is required to pick up all of the pieces. A farmer's wife is the person that absolutely holds everything and everyone together. So, you know, and in saying that, I've known for many years, you know, that I, you know, am married to a very beautiful man who's incredibly intelligent and is a leader in the farming world. But, you know, when it comes to being emotionally available, that's a different story. So You know, but that I'm not placing any blame on him, because that's just the type of person he is. And for me, you know, part of me is that I may not be, or am probably not, an emotionally available person either. Like, and, you know, how many walls have I built up over the years around me? So it's a matter of just like, you know, checking in with ourselves and seeing what it is that we need to break down, or that we need to make a shift in. And so with me waking up this morning and saying, okay, I'm going to call this toolbox chat Sammi the brown snake, was more or less me feeling like I'd shed a skin, because I dropped back down in my medication. I didn't have a migraine when I lifted my head off the pillow. And, you know, there's not a great shift in my reality, but, you know, I perhaps feel a little bit better. So, you know, that sort of takes me to, you know, the next bit. And it's, you know, really sitting down with yourself and asking yourself, why or how have I found myself in this situation? Why is my vestibular system broken? Why has it been tripped into a position that it's no longer functioning for me? And I was thinking about it this morning when I was walking the dogs. And yes, it's a secondary clinical diagnosis, but it's one that lasts and lasts and lasts and goes on and on and on forever. Like, we're not fixing this. We are told, you know, to go off and, oh, it'll get better. You know, they've put us through MRI machines, you know, structurally everything's okay. They've checked and gone, nah, there's no brain tumour in there. It's okay. And then, you know, but it's more than that, because, you know, we're not working. Our brains aren't working. We are neurologically delayed. Well, I know I am neurologically delayed. Like, my processing's slow. I can't even say the word. Cognitively cannot, you know, think quickly. You know, everything is so hard to do. And I was not like this. I used to be able to do everything off the cuff. So, you know, they're like, well, this will get better. But, you know, if it was a common cold, for example, and the problem was with the common cold that you had a cough. So with a vestibular disorder, being that it's a secondary condition and the vestibular system issue was your cough, then if you've coughed every day 24/7 for 3 years or 2 years or 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, like, are you not questioning why your cough has not gone away? Are you asking the doctor why can't you get rid of your cough, or why your cough can't be fixed by something? And then they'll be like, well, you know, you need to go away and fix your cough by yourself because it'll get better. But what you need to do, and the key things for getting better, is you need to take an antidepressant, number one. That's going to help you get better. So you need to get on an antidepressant. So that can make you nice and fat. Okay, so take that so you get fat, and then that'll make you tired as well. So then you might want to lie down on the couch and sleep for 17 hours a day. Righto, so let's make you really fat, and or I'm going to just go with that really negative Nancy, type of comment. Not everyone gets fat, but I'm prone to it. So then go see a psychologist, okay? Get some help with some CBT, some cognitive behavioural therapy, so that you can start to think your way out of this shite, okay? And you can, find some tools, and I'm not judging CBT. There is very much great evidence and some really, really good skills and some really great practitioners out there that are helping a lot of people with CBT. And I'm not judging that at all. That's a very great tool to do. But, that's like go away and do your CBT, which is a lot of really hard work. And a lot of people are prepared to go and do the hard work, which is fine. But, that's another thing that you've got to find the money for, the energy for. You've got to drive to it, or you've got to patch out the time to get it done. And then what happens is that what you'll do perhaps inside of CBT or any other type of therapy is they'll start to unpack your life for you, and then you'll start to do, X, Y, and Z, which can also be quite confronting. And then, the third part of it might be that you'll do some VRT, which is vestibular rehab therapy, which will be like putting a piece of paper on the wall, and you'll shake your head backwards and forwards watching the dot until you get so dizzy that you can't actually, oh my God, I've just spun out and I can't see that any longer. Which is supposed to sort of, help your vestibular system, start to refocus and train it again to sort of kick back into gear. But I did a lot of vestibular rehab therapy, and it made me way worse. And that is, I'm only saying in my situation, because I had not been properly diagnosed with vestibular migraine. So my migraine brain was so under attack and so chronic that doing the vestibular rehab therapy was just making everything 2 times worse. So it was just really hard, for me to deal with all of that. So it can be really a very challenging and long path to go on. So what I would recommend, or I feel like is a really good food for thought for yourself, would be just to find something that really fits well with you. I'm just downloaded an app today. I'm going to post it in my side section of the channel, and I think it's called Spiro, and it actually has it does have a membership for it, but I really am going to start to do it today. And it's based on some Tai Chi stretches, and also Tai Chi and Qigong, and basically moving a little bit more of the energy inside of us, because I'm, as I said, very big firm believer of where thoughts go, energy flows. So I'm really going to try to kick back into that Tai Chi Qigong practice. I was at the start of the year doing some Tai Chi, and I did actually feel a little bit better off for it, until my membership ran out for that as well. So and I guess, the last thing that I wanted to sort of recap on today would be that we need to probably just, and I know that sometimes all of these little things can be really confronting, but I've thought about this a lot. And it's really just going away and sitting with yourself and just really, taking that time to just unpack why this has happened to you. And there's a myriad of reasons, and our vestibular system has come under attack for a reason. And, everybody out there in the world has something going on for them. And there are people that live with sadness, and there's people that live with, things that have broken their heart every day. And, there's tragic things that have happened, and all of those things that are just, break people's hearts. But I'm going to go a little bit further than that and say that in a vestibular with the vestibular system, what's actually happened is that it's come under attack because there's been compounding issues. Like maybe you've been dealing with lots of stress, and then from the stress then there's been perhaps past traumas that have something's happened and something's bubbling up from the surface, and then from the past traumas then you've come into contact and with someone that's tipped you over the edge, or you've lost a loved one recently that's been really sick from something, or you've got really bad anxiety, and then all of a sudden you've had a major panic attack, and that meltdowns all of a sudden then cause this major dizziness to just manifest, and then all of a sudden the week after you just can't stand up properly and your world shifted and you can't balance properly, or that you've suffered in the last 3 years from really bad PTSD from a workplace incident, or that you've seen things that's caused issues, and then then stress on top of that, or you've been in talk therapy, and then all of a sudden something's been brought up in your talk therapy where you've been confronted by something that's made you feel really uncomfortable, or that you thought was hidden away in the skeleton cupboard, and it's been brought back out and it's haunting you again. Abuse from childhood, or stress that's just absolutely tripped your system, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I'm just melted down. So all of those examples that I've given are just really, some of the reasons. And it could have been that you were sick and you got an ear infection, or that, you were given a drug that caused toxicity to your system, and then all of a sudden your vestibular system was under attack, and you woke up and you couldn't stand up, or all of those types of things. So there's a myriad of reasons why this can happen, but it's normally like basically a building block of all of these things until you bust and can't actually physically take it any longer. So as I said, I was trying to compare people that have sadness or something throughout their life, and then others that have this compounding level of until they, oh my God, the bucket's overflowing type thing. So I'm hoping that off the cuff today in our toolbox chat that there might have been something that you've taken out of it, and that you could possibly go away and have a little bit of a think about if there's anything that you feel like might be worthwhile sitting down and thinking about. the tools that I'm bringing to the table today in our little chat is that if we can find a way to move our bodies, and as I said, I'm gonna start my Tai Chi Qigong. I'm feeling a little bit better. I've shed that skin. I'm hoping, as I said in a previous post, it's like a slide, or the ups and downs of life. We've all got to sit there in that space, in that mud, in that murk, until that skin is shed, and then we step through, and then we move forward until we find we're in the mud again, and we shed that and we step through. So it really is a really, really difficult journey to be on. And I am very, very mindful about not bringing really, really heavy energy to my channel. But if I don't bring sometimes heavy energy, then I'm not being true to you, because living with this vestibular disorder, PPPD, and the places that we are so stuck in, then I'm not being true to you, because I know that you're having a rough day. I know that you're stuck in bed yesterday or tomorrow, or that you're having trouble right now getting out of the shower, or that you've not washed your hair for 3 days, or that you've got to go and do the grocery shop, or that something's just not working. So nurture yourself, take that time. If your body's telling you need to rest, then rest and rest. The drug overdose, I'm going to call it now, that I've put myself on in the last week with upping my meds, 3-4 times in the last week I was on the couch for 2.5 hours nearly every afternoon, every second afternoon, asleep, smashed, like so smashed, like couldn't wake up type stuff. And then you guys on this channel were like, hey, you know what? I think that might be a bit much for you. Well, you know what? You're right. It was too much for me. So thank you. Thank you for helping me. And I just want to be here to help you. So, if this has been any good, send me a love, send me a like, share my page, share my channel. And the other thing that I might, drop onto my post another thing on my side bit is that I've got a new pillow as well. So I'm not gonna say it's fantastic just at the minute, because I've actually been wrestling with it for the last 3 nights. But I think it might be good. And it's really the one that's your head sort of just cradles in the middle, and when you roll over to the side, your arm's supposed to have somewhere to go, but it's quite firm, memory pillow, but it's supposed to really support your neck at night time, and that's what I was after. So not sure if how about I just give that one another week, and then I might post that one onto the side bit in the post section of the channel, and I'll give it a rating to tell you whether or not I think it's great. But my neck is good this morning, and there's no migraine. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Love you all, and I hope that you have a great day. And you're all warriors, like I said. And for anyone that's listening that doesn't have PPPD, share my channel across the world, because we're trying to bring awareness to this condition, so that help can be found for us, and that we can be more understood. So yeah, thanks for being here. Bye for now.